We're still on page 262, but this time we're going to go over the grammar presentation, adjectives and adverbs. So if you notice, the adjectives are used before a noun, or they're sometimes used after a verb, like is, seems, appears, looks. And this is another example of how it's used before a noun. And adverbs are used usually after the verb, right? And then it's kind of at the end here. And most of the time they take ly, but sometimes they don't, like this examples here. And then we also have adverbs of degree. These modify adjectives. So very quietly, so nice, really good, awfully fast. So we call these adverbs of degree. And then the next thing is participial adjectives. So this is ing and ed. So you have to know the difference. This is referring to it makes people feel this way, and this is referring to a feeling. So make sure you understand how to use each one. And then last class we briefly talked about adjectives before nouns. So whenever we have adjectives, whenever we have like more than one adjective, we have to make sure we put it in the correct order. So first we put opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, purpose, and noun as an adjective, and then the noun. So you have to make sure that it follows this order. Otherwise it sounds weird. On the next page, grammar notes, 263. It says adjectives and adverbs describe or give information about other words. Adjectives describe nouns. So like safe streets, or the streets are safe. This is describing the streets. Adverbs describe other verbs. They describe verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. So these are some examples. In this case, the manager talks quietly. The adverb is describing the verb. He is extremely quiet. The adverb is describing the adjective. He works very quietly. This adverb is describing this other adverb. Use an adjective after a non-action verb, such as be, look, seem, appear, smell, or taste. Do not use an adverb. The house looks beautiful. We don't use beautifully. So just remember, these verbs we have to use an adjective only. And then we have adverbs of manner. This is usually, they answer the question how. How did they do it? Most of the time they end with ly. And then here they give some examples, like slow becomes slowly. Although sometimes we, in spoken English, we use it without the ly, don't speak so loud. But this is a little bit informal. One thing to be careful of is some adjectives also end in ly. So like lovely, friendly, lonely, and silly, those are adjectives. So sometimes people think they're adverbs, but they're not. So make sure you understand the difference. And there are some exceptions, like good is an adjective, but well is the adverb. So we don't say goodly. It doesn't make sense. So just make sure that you understand the adjective and the adverb form. And other adjectives like early, fast, hard, and late, and wrong have the same adjective and adverb forms. So she's a hard worker, she works hard. He is a fast worker, he works fast. So we don't change it, we don't say fastly or wrongly. Hardly is not the adverb form of hard. So we talked about this in class. But hardly and lately, they don't mean the same thing as hard and late. So be sure that you're not using those the adverb forms. On page 264, these are the adverbs of degree. Absolutely, awfully, terribly, pretty, etc. We use these to modify verbs. So we use them before verbs, like this one. We also use them before adjectives, so pretty, lucky, for example. The only exception is not at all. If you notice, here it's at the end rather than before the adjective or before the verb. And just be mindful that not all adverbs of degree can go with verbs. Do not use extremely, very, pretty, awfully, terribly, fairly, or to before a verb. So we can't say I very like it or I awfully like it. So we can say I absolutely love it, but we can't say I pretty love it. I don't know why, it's kind of strange, but it just doesn't sound right. So just make sure that you know these adverbs, do not use them before a verb. We just use them before an adjective, like she is extremely nice, for example. Participial adjectives. ING describes, shows that someone or something causes a feeling. So the house is disappointing. That means it causes a feeling of disappointment. The ED form shows that someone has a feeling. So one causes a feeling, one has the feeling. I'm disappointed. That means I'm describing my feelings, how I feel right now. Word order with one adjective. The adjective usually goes right before the noun it describes. It can also go after a non-action verb. So most of the time we use adjectives before nouns, but if we have something, we have a verb like be, look, seem, appear, smell, or taste, we can use the adjective after that. Like, this house looks beautiful. The flowers smell nice. This food tastes delicious. So in that case, we're using the adjective after these verbs. On page 265, when we use 2 or 3 adjectives before a noun, we have to follow a certain order. We talked about that before. So just make sure that you follow the order. You can look at it here. We can't say it's a residential old beautiful house. It has to follow this pattern. So make sure you read through that and you understand it. Do not use commas between adjectives that belong to different categories. So if you notice, there's no commas here. For adjectives that belong in the same category, the order is not important. So these are all opinion adjectives: friendly, helpful, and nice. We can put it in any order, it doesn't matter. But if it's in a different category, like for example, this is an opinion. If I put an opinion adjective and then an age adjective, I have to put those in order. And then the last note that they mention here is an adverb of manner usually goes after the verb it describes. So the apartment rented quickly, or we can't say the apartment quickly rented, but it doesn't make sense. When the verb has an object, the adverb goes after the object. She decorated the house nicely. So see, this is the object. So we put the adverb after. An adverb of degree usually goes right before the adjective, adverb, or verb it describes. It's extremely nice. So if you see here, these are the adverbs of degree. So these goes before the adjective or the adverb. So make sure you put these in the correct order.